Thank you to our charter sponsor. That's right. He's our charter sponsor and our title sponsor, David Hochberg and Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. You know, I was talking to David Hochberg about these times in which we live, where the Fed continues to raise rates. That's not expected to change. It puts a real squeeze on mortgages and refis because those interest rates, they keep going up. So Team Hochberg, David Hochberg, what are you telling people?
I'm telling everybody right now, if you need a mortgage, your best play would be to take out an adjustable rate mortgage, also known as ARMs. You'll start reading stories and hearing horrific stories about how dangerous ARMs are, which is a ridiculous statement because ARMs are perfect for short-term plays. If you know that your son or daughter are going to be graduating high school and you're going to be putting a for sale sign up in 5 years and you want to pay off debt, you want to pay off some credit card debt that you've accumulated because of COVID and because of the $5-6 a gallon gas, adjustable rate mortgage is a perfect product.
It's 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. He'll guide you through these difficult times and make sure you're saving the most money possible. And again, waiting is not your friend because the Fed has their mission, and that mission may not match with yours. 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. Thank you, Team Hochberg, our title sponsor on Live from My Office. I was lucky and blessed to be with my family this weekend at a place called Crystal Mountain Resort. It's like, I don't know.
Ooh, it sounds like
45 minutes maybe from Traverse City.
Sounds like something out of like Dirty Dancing.
Is that where the water comes from? The crystal water or whatever?
Yes.
Bottle it up
yes,
there?
I had a bottle. I was filling it. But it's a ski resort and golf courses in the summertime and stuff. And it was a jam because it was Cherry Fest. And we have a nephew that's a fire chief there. And I think it's Long Lake Township.
Nice.
So we try to go up every summer, and it's really beautiful. I mean, Traverse City's great, but, very beautiful. And, they had the Blue Angels there for the air show.
Oh, fun.
And so you're watching that on the beach, and, I'm yelling as loud as I can, hey, slow down, you're going to hurt somebody.
But
those
Blue
guys,
Angels.
the talent with those guys, it's just crazy how talented they are. Great fireworks show on a boat on the lake. So I'm blessed, right? I've got all that goodness going on. And, I'm spending time with my two amazing grandkids, Abigail, who's 6.5, and Isaac, who's about to turn 3. I want them to have a great country that they can live and prosper and make better and all those things. It's like, Nick, it's like you with your little kids.
Yeah.
You want them to have a future.
That's right.
Look, we've always had mentally ill people in this country. We have. There's always been mentally ill people.
Yep.
We've had the Second Amendment since the Constitution was written. We've also always had criminals. But there's one clear difference now. It's the volume of guns and the access to guns for people that shouldn't have them. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk to legitimate, legal gun owners because it's 99% of gun owners. You may not like them, but I support the Second Amendment. I grew up around gun owners. I've fired weapons, most of my adult life on various occasions. Never in anger.
Right.
But, target shooting, things like that.
Yep.
I get it. Mm-hmm. But you can't not do nothing when this is going on. 2021, we had 249 mass shootings, 3 or more shot or killed. We're over 300 right now, and we're on July 5th.
Oh, my God.
So we're poised to double it. And you can blame the left, you can blame the right. Doesn't solve a thing. Mm-hmm. Both parties have to own this. Harry Reid started this when he changed voting in the Senate to 60 votes to get anything done. Mitch McConnell took it a notch and made it worse. Both parties own this. There's limited things the president can do. Limited. The powers of the presidency are immense, as Daniel Day-Lewis said, but they are limited.
Yeah.
And you do not want executive orders and executive ordering this thing into oblivion. Here's what is not going to happen. Nobody's taking your guns. So get rid of that argument. It's not happening. You got a 6-3 Supreme Court, and you have court protections all over the country. Nobody's taking your guns. But if you're a legitimate gun owner, You have to get invested in limiting the damage that a high-powered weapon can do in the hands of a crazy person. And that's what we saw yesterday. People telling Biden you need a gun czar. You know what the public's going to do when you use the word czar? It's like Blue Ribbon Commission in Illinois.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely nothing. And Republicans always tell you, it's the mental health. Yeah, you know what it is. Yeah, no, there's no question. Mental health issues in this country are huge. But you know what that is? And I've said this a million times. There are 3 levels to any problem. There's the immediate solution, the midterm solution, and the long solution. It's like talking about the cost of gas. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have everybody driving an electric car tomorrow. We still got to figure out how you're going to produce the electricity without using coal and oil to get that done. There's a million holes in the problem. When it comes to guns, mental health is the mid to long-term solution to the problem and taking care of kids while the problem develops. You got to deal with it right now. School security. Anybody that has a kid in the greater Chicago area probably has a kid going to a school that needs more than one door to get in and out of school. Mm-hmm. So this idea that if we harden the doors, we're going to be fine. Yeah, great. Well, let's start school around noon. They'll have time for 2 classes, and then we'll all file them out of the same door to get out. These man traps and door tricks that they're talking about, they work. Mm-hmm. And you should use the technology wherever you can, especially to catch somebody who's gotten in. But they're not the solution. Jail reform, Democrats screaming about jail reform all the time. How about you enforce laws when people commit crimes and you force them to face justice?
Absolutely.
Somebody commits a gun crime in Illinois and they go home on a bracelet on their ankle? Are you kidding me?
Right, which can easily be clipped, or they don't realize that it's off for 48 hours.
It's a ridiculous solution.
Completely.
Democrats need to own that. Criminals are going to get the guns anyway. They're going to get them. Yeah. Gang bangers who buy illegal guns are going to get the guns and they're going to use them as they see fit. That's not what happened yesterday. This kid was a nut with a gun who apparently, according to the mayor, who we'll talk to on tomorrow's show, got the gun legally. 2 separate arguments. Mm-hmm. Don't combine the 2. Illegal guns, bad guys will get guns. But we have to find a way to limit the carnage when a person who shouldn't have a gun and shouldn't be in a position to do the damage they're doing.
Especially with this kind of a gun.
Yeah, these high-powered weapons. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, limiting the carnage, limiting high-capacity magazines. It should be hard to get a gun. It should be hard to keep a gun. Right. And it should be something you earn and something you treat with respect. Again, as the vast majority of legal gun owners do. You want to tell me about how it's inconvenient? It's inconvenient to check into a hotel. I still got to stand in line and get a key. It's inconvenient to get married. Got to get a license. Mm-hmm. Inconvenient to buy a car. You go to buy a car, it's going to be sitting there for a few hours.
And in Illinois, it's inconvenient to get a driver's license.
Yeah. Buying cold medicine, got to whip out your ID, got to prove who you are. Life is inconvenient. I would rather have it be inconvenient to me or anybody else for a few minutes so that there's a chance we keep a gun out of a bad guy's hands. In the early 70s, Nixon, he moved to have handguns removed. Warren Burger was on the same page. That's not going to happen, and nobody's asking for that. Nobody's taking their guns. And by the way, Democrats, it's not the NRA. The NRA is broke. I am no fan of the NRA, but the NRA is broke. You know why politicians don't stand up and do the right thing with gun laws? Because they don't have to, because you as voters don't show up in primaries and you don't put them in a position to actually do the will of you as your elected representative. After Parkland, after everything we've seen, and now after this, is anything going to happen? Like, I don't want to be cynical, but I sure as hell am not counting on Washington. Gerrymandering kills people. Apathy kills people. The news cycle kills people. And the Senate 60 vote level kills people. The new gun laws that Biden signed in, fine, okay. But don't pull a muscle patting yourselves on the back that you signed that bill. Anybody, not just Biden. I'm talking about the people who drafted the bill. Because you got to do more. What's your future? Are you just going to stay home? Is that the deal now? It's where you're safest.
Yeah.
Are you just going to stay home? Is that the life you want? People screaming for years, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to get an injection. I don't want to get a shot. Don't tell me how to live my life. Mm-hmm. So you're going to stay home now? Is that what you're going to do? Because you're afraid you're going to get shot if you leave? Come on. You got to work together. It's the only way to get this done.
You're here.
You love golf like I do? You know somebody that loves golf like I do? Maybe they annoy you as much as I annoy my wife when it comes to golf, because I talk about it, I think about it, I watch it, and I play it. But I play it with fitted golf clubs. I'm not good. And the best way to be better is to play with golf clubs that actually fit you. It's a big deal. Man, if you've played golf one time or you play 100 times a summer, you know it's a hard game. But you can make it a little easier. And if you're serious about it, you're going to want to be fit. You're trying to think maybe for Father's Day or Mother's Day or both. What can I do for my golf-crazed mom or dad or husband or wife? Club fitting. A club fitting at Cantini. Cantini has a man named Paul Taylor. Paul Taylor gets up in the morning and he thinks, you know what would make me happy is if I take a man or a woman in here today and fit them perfectly to a new set of golf clubs. And by the way, there's no pressure to buy golf clubs. He can hook you up if you want, but he's not going to bug you for that. He just wants you to make sure you know the specifics of your golf swing and what you need to be perfectly fit to new clubs, whether it's one club as a driver or a putter or anything in between, including the full set. You're going to enjoy getting fit. And he is fantastic. Nobody better than Paul Taylor. Get a hold of him at 630-260-8199 or cantinigolf.com, CANTIGNY. It's easy. There's no stupid questions. Dare I say it's fun. And sure, you can buy brand new clubs, club, putter, anything in between. But you don't have to. It's up to you. You're just going to love this fitting process for sure. Cantinigolf.com, CANTIGNY golf.com. And if you have any questions about anything else related to Cantini, you could call the Pro Shop too. Let me give you that number, 630-260-8197. CantiniGolf.com. Steve Cochran Show, Big 89 WLS. And in talking about the travesty that happened yesterday, I never use the word tragedy when it comes to stuff that's preventable. Tragedies to me are accidents. This is a travesty. Travesty that this lunatic with a gun was able to tear people up, tear Highland Park up, end 6 lives, maybe more before we're done. Yeah. Kristen Ziman is someone worthy of all of our respect with what she's accomplished in her career already. And she's, kind of in my world, barely getting started.
That's right.
I don't think she's thought of the other stuff she's going to do yet. Former police chief of Aurora, terrific author, by the way. And the book Andrea is recommending is?
Reimagining Blue. Outstanding read. And I'm not just saying that because she's a friend. It's an excellent, excellent read. And you really, Kristen, delve into everything that you've been through throughout your entire life and reimagining policing. Yeah,
which is a huge deal and a big topic point. Yeah. But, of course, we're here in part, obviously, to talk about Highland Park. Well, you know what happened yesterday. You know what it feels like to be a cop in situations that feel out of control. What do we not know about what cops did yesterday and had to do to go get this guy?
Yeah, you know what? First of all, I appreciate what you say about tragedy versus travesty. I had a conversation with one of the fathers who lost his son at the Parkland shooting, and he said the very same thing you did. He said, stop saying my son was lost, stop calling this, just the incident. He said, this is a massacre. Let's call it what it is. Right. So this language matters, and I appreciate that. But, listen, these first responders, and not only that, but the families, the parade goers, the things that they have to witness and to run towards, that weighs on the mental health of officers and all of these responding incidents that seem to be more and more violent, take a toll on not only law enforcement, but the community as a whole.
The people that were there yesterday will suffer indelibly forever. The lives that were lost cannot be replaced. The people that are injured, God bless all of them, and hopefully they'll recover. This killer will go to prison, and he'll stay there. But what have we learned from this? And how does this not turn into just another day?
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. It feels like for a few days, we have thoughts and prayers and Highland Park strong, and then we move on with our life, and then the next one happens. And we're still suffering from the wake of all of the mass shootings. Uvalde being the one with the killing babies.
Right.
And here we are again, and it just seems like this is the definition of insanity.
Kristen, you dealt with the mass shooting in Aurora in 2019. I know you're on the committee now investigating Uvalde. Kind of walk us through, when you first heard of the situation in Aurora at Pratt, as the leader of a police department, what is going through your mind? Like first steps? Is it securing the scene, finding out who did this? Because quite honestly, yesterday, I thought they did such a wonderful job with securing the scene, finding out who this is, getting the information out, and it seems so quick, but it's very intricate in policing.
It's a choreography to it, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. It is very intricate in yes, what you said.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
It's early to say words. Intricate. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first thing that we're looking to do, number one, is neutralize the threat. So stop the killing, stop the shooting. Number two is to triage the victims. And so we want to focus on the human beings involved, stop the killing and triage. And officers, first responders are pretty good at that. Our training has led us to these moments. And even though when you mentioned what was going through your head, I felt prepared as a police department, but that doesn't make it any easier. And there are so many things that you don't think about. But when officers do exactly what they do, they run towards it, they neutralize the threat, they contain the scene, they stop the bleeding, and they triage the patients. Then after that, now it becomes this whirlwind of dealing with the emotions of the first responders, of the victims' families,
sure.
Setting up that reunification center for those who were disconnected, and I know that in Highland Park, we also had kind of a stampede event from what I've at least heard. So not only, were families disconnected because of the violence, but because they're running in different directions as well. And so then becomes the emotional care. And that's really where the community is right now, is number one, in shock, is how did this happen here? And I heard someone on the scene in Highland Park say, nothing ever happens here. And I think that's the mindset that I want people to switch right now. This is why I left policing, and this is why I now go across the nation and talk about mass violence, because you can no longer have that mindset that this doesn't happen here. And so now we have to go into preparedness. And honestly, that's a sad place to live, to have to constantly keep your head on a swivel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, it's a fixable problem. It doesn't have to happen. What a police departments are like every other line of work, in that there's Republicans, there's Democrats, there's independents. And, in the Chicago police force, I don't have the number in front of me, but I would say there's probably a majority are conservatives, or at least leaning right. Mm-hmm. Having said that, what do police think of AK-47s in citizens' hands?
Yeah, so the police I talk to, and I'm very fortunate because I still get to talk to a lot of police officers in my work in speaking. And not only that, but I'm part of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And we have a mass violence initiative. There's a group of us that go around, helping other communities. And here is the tone, is that these weapons are not only putting the community in danger, but police officers as well. And, the days where we have been trained that when you see a gun, you yell threat and you determine, is that a good guy or a bad guy? Well, now we have guns seemingly in the hands of everyone. And it really, and I'm certainly not suggesting that that's not your constitutional right. It is. But what I'm saying is that from a police perspective, when you roll up on a vehicle or when you walk up onto a person and a gun is exposed, now it puts that officer into a situation conversation of deciding immediately, is this a threat? Is this someone that is going to harm me or someone else? And so even police officers who are, I would agree with that being a little more conservative, we're all saying the same thing, is that this is something has to happen with this because it's putting everyone in danger.
I need you to hang for a second because we have many more questions for Kristen Ziman. For people that want to know what you're up to, along with getting the book, and you're not here to plug the book, we're plugging it for you. But how do we stay in touch with you, and how do people keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, so you like I said, my passion, the reason I wake up in the morning, and sadly, I wish this weren't the case, but the mass shooting in Aurora, it changed me, and it made me want to go around and speak about prevention. And you said it earlier that you can prevent these shootings, and the shooting in Aurora, that shooter said at 9:30 in the morning, I'm going to shoot up this place if they call me in the office this afternoon. And this particular incident, and by the way, all of them in between, 99 out of 100 of these shootings, we are tripping over red flags. There are signs, and it's no different than in this shooting. And so this is what I'm doing. I'm going to organizations and talking about the culture of prevention, the culture of reporting, the threat matrix that need to be built so we can determine if there is going to be a next shooting, who is going to do it. And like I said, in almost every single case, we know the answer.
We're going to come back with more with Kristen in a second, but I'm just going to continue to say this, all day and continue to say it, period. Haven't you had enough? Haven't you had enough? How many do you have to have? How many do you have to have before it's enough? America is an international joke when it comes to taking care of its own people because of what is happening as it happened yesterday in Highland Park. That's not the country that we celebrated yesterday on Independence Day. And it's not the country you want to live in. Andre, you and I were talking about red flag laws. What do you want to ask Kristen about that?
Yeah, Kristen, before the show, and we've talked about this too, right before the break, you said 99 out of 100 times there are signs or, indications that someone might not be, maybe all there is the best way to put it. It happened with Pratt, Uvalde,
I have
Highland
nothing.
Park.
I have nothing, Kristen and Andre. I have nothing but sympathy for people who suffer from mental illness.
Right.
I've battled depression my entire life. Yesterday, that is a nut with a gun, and you have to call it what it is so people understand.
So, Kristen, as this is unfolding, we're seeing the videos of this suspect online and clearly disturbed. Just clearly, again, a disturbed individual. So you have someone who's a danger. I see something. I want to say something. My indication, just as a regular citizen, is to call the police or call 911. What? And I know law enforcement. I know your hands have been tied so much in these times, in this day and age. So what can we do aside from seeing something and saying something? And what can you do once we do say something?
You've literally just hit the nail on the head. And so when we talk about, how do we stop this, right? So it's interesting because, and this is why I've shifted the focus of my work, is after the shooting, I started to speak at law enforcement organizations. And then I started to realize that law enforcement are going to be the ones who show up. We are first responders, but we're not necessarily that cog in the wheel that is going to be the prevention, right? So the prevention happens in families, in organizations, in schools. And as you mentioned in this shooter's case in Highland Park, this is, in my profession, we call that a clue. The videos that he has been posting, that when you watch them, I actually struggled to sleep last night because I was thinking, my gosh, how is it that no one saw, predicted this? And so this is where the gap is. And so we have a lot. So here's the problem. is that this dark material that was posted, maybe people just write it off as, oh, like the shooter at the Pratt shooting in Aurora. It literally, people were saying, oh yeah, that guy's just angry all the time. But to Steve's point, this is honestly insulting to those who have battled mental illness, because it's suggesting that, and this almost seems to be where we immediately go is, oh, they're just mentally ill.
Right.
No, they're not. This is calculated. This is willful. This is wanton. They are playing these shootings out, and then they are taking them to action. So they're very calculated in this manner. And so it's a criminal mind. So this is where we have to differentiate between those, who need some assistance, and then those who are criminal minds. And we live with them. We live next door to them. We work in the next cubicle with them. We go to classes with them. So this has to be the focus of where we change legislation, we put funding, and what you do is you have to report it either to a police officer or to the entity. And then there has to be a team together of mental health professionals, practitioners, and those who can develop a threat matrix and determine, okay, this individual is dangerous. Now that's step one. Step two, do they have access to weapons? So when people say guns don't kill, people do, I push back and say, you are absolutely correct. But people who disguised as monsters who get a hold of guns now kill people. Right. So this is the formula. Yeah,
and it's a formula for disaster, which continues to get repeated over and over again. And the legislation that's being discussed, and it was nauseating to me to see Democrats and Republicans patting themselves on the back for the laws that they changed 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Congratulations. Great. Right. You talk about a baby step. You think, well, at least it's something. You don't get credit for at least it's something. No. The house is on fire. You need some water. Yeah. You need to put the fire out. So, Kristen, just for a moment, speak to the fact that there is no perfect solution to this problem. But by eliminating the high-capacity magazines and eliminating the ability for a lunatic to grab an automatic weapon, you're limiting the carnage. And I'm sorry if that sounds rough, but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think this is where we are. We've the evolution of the mindset of guns has now gotten to the point of where even those who are staunch, constitutionalists are saying, okay, enough is enough, because these guns in the hands of monsters are creating carnage. That's exactly right. And that's how we have to see it. And now we have to do something about it.
And the question is, will you be a part of the solution? Again, I'm more than aggravated that 20% of people showed up for the primary. But the primary's over. Mm-hmm. Are you going to vote in the general? Are you going to be a part of it? Are you going to do something about it? Because clearly nobody's safe. If it could happen in Uvalde to some Hispanic kids, if it could happen in Newtown to innocent little kids, and we did nothing, if it can happen in churches in the South, if it can happen at Tops in Buffalo in a black neighborhood, and now it happens in one of the richest, safest, no crime, little, just this idyllic, great safe place,
in our backyard.
Highland Park in your backyard. If it can happen, you're not safe. Mm-mm. You're not safe. So you have to be part of the solution. That's it. Kristen, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to get off the road and just come in here and do the show.
You know what? Yeah, make a seat for me. I'm on my way, packing my bags.
No, we need you, and we need your voice out there. So thank you for doing it. I hope you'll come back to continue this, because we don't have time to do it now, but I want to take up the Akron question as well, because I back police all day long, and police are doing the job and getting rid of the bad police. Mm-hmm. A fraction of a fraction of a fraction. But you mentioned something earlier that we need to discuss next time you're on, and that's the role the media has to play in making all of this worse. Mm-hmm. And the way the Akron story is being reported to me is just a reflection of the problem, and it gets amplified again and again and again. Don't put yourself in a situation where police may have to choose to use deadly force. Mm-hmm. Where's that discussion?
Absolutely.
So thank you, Kristen.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. And by the way, read her book. And again, she's not plugging this.
What book?
Reimagining Blue, Thoughts on Life, Leadership, and a New Way Forward in Policing. It's being released officially. The official launch is next week, but you can get it on Amazon right now. It's a really good book. Really good read.
She is a rock star.
She's a great writer, too.
David Hochberg and Team Hochberg are at it again with something that amounts to perks at work. It's an affinity program, meaning a benefit program for your employees. I think the best person to describe this would be David Hochberg, who tells us what, in fact, it is.
A real estate package to the business, to the employees of those businesses. If they're looking to refinance, you get a deep discount. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, we've partnered with realtors throughout the United States and title companies throughout the United States to offer substantial discounts. So we're able to offer your employees, if you're a company owner or a benefits manager or HR manager, huge discounts on refinancing and huge discounts if your employees are buying or selling a home.
So here's the deal. You would actually have something that's not going to cost you any money as a company, presented as a benefit to your employees, which can mean they're going to lower their purchase price. Their appraisal value is going to be benefited by this. You get an appraisal credit, a realtor credit, a lender credit, a title credit. It all adds up to savings and happier employees. How do you get more information? Go to 855-56-DAVID. That's the phone number. Call up, leave a message, ask your questions, or go to 56david.com and drop David Hochberg an email. Another great idea from Team Hochberg and David Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. Let's go, company benefits managers. Let's do something for you and your people. Senator Durbin's been in the Highland Park a good portion of the last couple of days for obvious reasons, and joins me now. Steve Cochran back on the radio, Senator. I hope that's good news for people, at least some of them, based on my texts.
Well, I'm glad to hear you, and I'm glad your voice is back with Chicago in the morning. It feels right. Happy to be with you, Steve, and at this terrible moment in our history, those of us in elective office have got to step back and say, what can we do to allay the fears of people in Illinois and across America that taking your kids to a 4th of July parade is an invitation for a mass murder? That's just an outrage to think that occurred on the 4th of July and in our backyard. Now it's up to me and others in positions of authority to respond.
So the gun bill that the president signed is a step. It feels like a baby step, and it feels like we need so much more. It was signed prior to the nightmare on Monday. Having said that, you've always been honest with me, and my question to you is, was this all that could get done? How much of it was political, so both sides could say something got done?
The sad reality is it was probably more than anyone expected to happen. It's been 30 years since we've done anything in this area. The bill itself made some underlying modest steps forward. That's why I voted for it. It will save lives. How many, I can't say. And certainly it does not go far enough. To think that we live in a country that has decided that when our founding fathers sat down in 1776 to put together this nation, that they envisioned what we saw last Monday in Highland Park is unimaginable.
Yeah, of course.
That wasn't even a conceivable thought that anyone would have the power to fire off 70 rounds in a matter of minutes and kill and injure so many people. The argument that the Supreme Court embraced about history being the guide, well, if history is any guide, the AR-15, which has become the weapon of choice for mass murderers, it was certainly never envisioned in the history of this country.
People claim they use it for defense, for hunting, things of that nature. What do you say to them?
Ridiculous. It really has very little application other than a military application to kill a large number of people quickly with rounds of ammunition that enter the human body at 3 times the ordinary velocity of a firearm and tumble through the body, ripping its way through. As one of the doctors said after Highland Park, he couldn't go into detail. He just didn't believe that people in the listening audience could bear to hear the details of what these war wounds, is what he called them, look like.
Yeah, you know, the notion, too, that you can be against an AR-15 or gamed up automatic weapons and not be pro-Second Amendment, those two things don't wash. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in Americans' rights to own guns. I don't believe that any of us should be afraid to leave the house because a nut with a gun can do this kind of horrific damage. And the disconnect is just baffling to me.
And I tell you, they've found technological ways to defeat the semi-automatic nature of this weapon. The difference being, of course, an automatic weapon, you hold the trigger and the rounds just keep firing as long as you have a source of ammunition. And a semi-automatic, you have to pull the trigger each time. Well, I don't know what the circumstances were in Highland Park, but in some instances they have technology that defeats that purpose. Bump stock was one of the things that was used in Las Vegas to kill those innocent people at a concert, and there are others as well. And we've got to open our eyes to reality. The industry is ruthless and heartless and thinks nothing of making these guns even more lethal if possible. We have to have the common sense to stay within the bounds of the law and require that they do the same.
How much of this is still a worthy discussion that the gun lobby and NRA support candidates and they're afraid to go against the gun lobby versus I don't want to be primaried?
Well, I think that's a big part of it. I've been in Congress for a while, and I saw the Trump era arrive, and I watched my Republican colleagues when they're challenged as to whether they're going to abide by his standards, start looking at their shoes. I mean, they are literally afraid that he can primary them. The most courage we find among Republican members of Congress from a Democratic perspective are those who are in retirement or destined for it and don't have to face another primary. But I have spoken to senators from the Midwest, Republican senators, who tell me that they think the vast majority of Republican primary voters would go over the side of a cliff for Trump no matter what he stood for.
Well, but it comes down to the larger question to me is nobody shows up for the primaries. When you have a 20% turnout in the primaries, it's only the far left and the far right that vote. And the people in the middle that don't show up then scratch their heads in November and wonder why their choices aren't what they want to be. You have to be involved in those 2 days, while inconvenient, are a pretty minimal ask to be a part of the process. And by the way, you know this, the vast majority of gun owners are decent people, great people, wouldn't consider committing a crime or misusing their guns. It's the volume of guns that are accessible that allows things like Monday to happen. It's statistically impossible to imagine any other scenario other than that. And mental health is an absolute concern, but that's not how you stop it now, because you have to stop it now and limit the carnage.
You make several good points. First, I was born and raised in downstate Illinois. In families in downstate, the ownership of a firearm is not considered anything unusual. It's really unusual if you don't. Most of them are sportsmen and hunters. And as you say, they really value their firearm, but they treat it very seriously in terms of its storage and use. And they make no excuses for people who use it for other purposes or misuse firearms. Secondly, people say to me, I'm sick and tired of this situation. Do something. And I say, I'm afraid you have to start this process by doing something and voting. If you believe this is an important issue, ask the hard questions of your candidates in both political parties. Where do you stand on these issues of gun safety? If you don't get the right answer from one, look for another. And if you find that person, regardless of party, be prepared to make a sacrifice and vote. And it isn't much of a sacrifice anymore. With early voting, with voting by mail in the state of Illinois, you don't even have to reserve an hour or two on election day. You can have this all done ahead of time.
We need to be a part of it. The mental health thing?
The mental health thing, I want to mention that certainly it is an element. As you read the background of the shooter in Highland Park, and I won't mention his name, I hope we can stop using it completely. When you read the background, he was a troubled person. There was no criminal record to turn to, very little evidence of his manifesting these conditions. And it may be too much to ask that our law enforcement monitors social media and all of the millions of entries that go in each day to try to pick out those who might be problematic. But the bottom line is he was, and I use this word painfully, successful in his venture because he had a weapon that fired 70 rounds in a matter of several minutes, killing innocent people in every direction. It was the weapon that empowered him I didn't think he was a true zealot when I read the background and the FBI told me about it. I didn't see a political or religious motivation there or anti-religious motivation there. What I found was a troubled person, one who...
He's a nut with a gun. He's, listen, I'm sorry. He's not a kid anymore. He's 22 years old. He's a nut that had access to a gun. But let me ask you this. 2019, the police have 2 interactions with a kid. They take knives away from him. He's threatened to commit suicide a couple of times at that point, threatened violence against his own family. This is a Democrat-run state where Democrats failed in not having there be something legislatively in place that would prevent him from buying a gun. Isn't there local laws that could be applied to that since we can't get anything done federally?
Well, the red flag law would be something I think of. We have it in this state. I don't know the details on it since I work at the federal level. But the question is, did it rise to the level of warning in terms of future purchases of firearms? To me, it sounds like it did. I mean, this man was collecting knives, 16, 17 knives, swords, sabers, daggers, and all the rest, which at least raises a question in my mind about his intent. But whether or not under the law as currently written in Illinois, that was a red flag, I can't say.
Well, you have, you're very powerful. You've been there a long time, and you've done the job. Now, my question to you is, you have conversations with the governor, and you have conversations with state legislators. What are you urging them to do in Illinois to make it safer for us? Democrats, what are you urging Democrats to do?
I can tell you one area that I'm particularly focused on right now. I think the AR-15 that is used so often in these mass shootings, it should be tested in court. I would argue that it is inherently dangerous when it comes down to its use. And as such, the manufacturer should be held responsible for the results. Think about that for a second. If that crowd in Highland Park could be filing not only criminal complaints against the shooter, but civil liability cases against the manufacturer for an inherently dangerous product, which he put into circulation in Highland Park that day, that would be the end of this conversation very quickly. No manufacturer could get away with it. In fact, we have, get ready for this, 10 to 20 million AR-15s in America today. 10 to 20 million of them. It's inconceivable that so many of them are out there. But if they would be found by a court to be inherently dangerous, then the manufacturer, frankly, could not afford to sell another one and may be required to buy back those who want to be offered. That requires coordination at the federal level, where we need to pass a law, and coordination at the state level when it comes to consumer protection. These things I'm going to pursue as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I think it is time to revisit this. The notion that gun manufacturers, above everyone else manufacturing every other product in America, should be held immune from liability for their product is just
it's ridiculous.
Outrageous.
It's ridiculous. I know you got to run, but I have one more for you that I think is very important. Do you consider this, over your long career, a great failure by the House and the Senate that the Congress of the United States has not been able to do a better job crafting laws to protect us? The body you're a part of, is it a failure?
Yes, it is. And the fact that we have allowed this political argument to reach such an extreme in this country, the fact that this individual was prohibited from buying a handgun under the age of 21 but could buy an AR-15 is an outrage. We have allowed this to happen, and I would blame myself, but I would also say to the voters, we need your help to change the law. You can't just complain. You have to vote. And when you vote, look for the candidates who you believe have a rational approach to this challenge.
And I would not put it on cops. We don't have enough cops as it is, and they're already doing 5 different jobs. They can't monitor your social media and all that. Personal responsibility. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steve. Bye-bye.
Senator Dick Durbin.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.